There is this rampant conversation in the workplaces about holding people accountable. Okay, don't do that. Holding people accountable is really toxic. It doesn't work. Do you like to be held accountable? When you hold somebody accountable, you are holding them. You're constricting them. So, it's one of the responsibilities of leadership to drive accountability, because there's the responsibility of the resultant. The resultant is that responsibility of getting things done. And getting things done means inevitably accountability. Hold people accountable means that you're basically making them into children. Children are held accountable. And I don't know anybody that likes to be trapped like that. So when you hold people accountable in your mind as a concept, it's toxic. So it's toxic, this idea of holding people accountable. And we have to have accountability. So first I want to talk about, what's the option here? I also want to get into how do you have an accountability conversation? And I really want to get into sort of a flow chart. How can you predict that accountability will work? But here's what happens when you hold somebody accountable. You become the parent, they become the child, right? And we know how this parent-child dynamic works. There's two kinds of parents. You have the nurturing parent, and you have the critical parent. The nurturing parent gives love and attention and healing, and the critical parent criticizes and punishes and finds flaws. So if you have a parent, then the reaction for the person being held accountable is to be a child. There's essentially two kinds of children, right? You have the rebellious child. The hell with this. I don't want to do it. And you have the kind of spontaneous free child, the playful child. This is important. If you're holding people accountable, you're going to end up being in a parent-child relationship. You're going to end up being either a critical parent or a nurturing parent, and they're going to end up being either a playful child or a rebellious child. What we're missing here is the obvious element of adult-to-adult relationship. We have parent, we have child. We have parent, we have child. And then they're not connecting. Adult-to-adult is where we connect. So rather than holding people accountable, I think what you really need to understand is what motivates somebody. What gets somebody engaged? What do you want? What do I want? What does every human being want at a basic level that gets them engaged? Because accountability is following through on what you said you're going to do. And that's what you want. You want people to follow through. You want people to do it in a voluntary way, not as a rebellious child that's going to push against you or a free child that's going to play. And you don't want to be the parent. So there's three things that have proven over and over to be motivating elements for human beings. It comes from the self-determination theory, and they're basically described as autonomy, relatedness, and competence. If your goal is to generate accountability, then these three dimensions of self-determination are really the levers to move for accountability. The first one is autonomy. The goal is not to hold people accountable, because when you hold somebody accountable, immediately you're taking away their autonomy. You're telling them what to do. You're restricting them. You're containing them. Rather, the trick is to coach your people so that they learn how to make better decisions. Coach your people so that they learn from their mistakes. Coach your people so that they can unlock potential. Coach your people to become autonomous. Help them figure out how to make good judgment calls. Then you're going to get people who are motivated towards accountability. So autonomy is one. Relatedness is the other. It's the relationship. It's the connection. And the way that you create and establish that connection is by giving your attention. Attention is the name of the game in conscious leadership. And it is the way that you navigate around all the various obstacles that lead to leadership breakdowns. Give people your attention. How do you give them the attention? Praise, recognition, conversation, and time. Give your people time. That builds the relationship. And in that time that you have together, focus on things that are meaningful to them and helpful to you. Give them feedback, give them praise. People do things that are wrong and they're mistakes. Great. Talk about it as feedback. So, cultivating their autonomy, maintaining the sense of relatedness, and the third part is competence. If you want people to be more effective at this role, this path of accountability. Make sure that they learn the skills, tools, and processes to do what is expected to be done. So help them become masterful at what they care about. Help them cultivate competence and skill. Help them become really good. Give them stretch assignments. Help them by sending them to trainings and development. Coach them. Those are the three dimensions of how you really generate accountability. You don't hold people accountable because then you just have children. And children, by definition, will either push or play, but they're not going to do things of their own volition. That's the nature of a child. You want adults. And adults are going to be accountable because you specifically cultivated their autonomy, helped them make better decisions. You cultivated the relationship, you stayed connected, and you helped them grow and be better at what matters to them. That's how people really grow into accountability, not by being pushed into it.